Hey YouTube, what's going on? This is PokeTCG Gamer back with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be going over my Week 9 NPL Majors match in which we are facing Cheese, who is the coach of the Phoenix Sunkerns. Cheese, very good battler. He is currently ahead of us in the standings. Right now, just a little update on the standings. Basically, it goes Gypsy, Cheese, Verd, and then me, and then Jolt follows us, as well as the Bayern Munich coached by Shotty. So I'm pretty sure at this point everyone is eliminated from playoffs except, only two people are eliminated from playoffs, in Aster and I think Razor at this point is eliminated after he lost to us. Spoilers, we are 5-3 with a +11 differential, so that's pretty nice. And everyone above us is 6-2. 6-2. They're a game ahead of us, and Joel is currently 4-4, a game behind us. So pretty much we're in a situation where we are currently ahead of Joel by 16 differential, and we're ahead of Shady by just wins and differential. So if we win this game 3-0, we clinch a playoff spot guaranteed. There's other scenarios where we can clinch a playoff spot this week as well, but that requires some things from Jolt and Shotty. But most likely, if we lose this week, it's gonna be a week 10 showdown versus Jolt. So that's pretty interesting. But let's just get into the team that he has. So Cheese has a team of Manaphy, which is a Zimumon, very, very threatening versus my team. I don't have anything that... I have very solid checks, but I don't have good pivots. I mean, I have one pivot, I guess, which is Rosary, but if he predicts that, it's not a multiple time. It's not something that can pivot every time. Rosary is something that can... Spoilers, my set this week on my Rose Raid is Choice Scarf, so as long as he doesn't Ice Beam, we pivot him pretty safely and get Fire off Leaf Storms and things like that. So anyways, Manaphy, he trends Sylveon, Amoonguss, Donphan, Mandibuzz, Stoutland, Raikou, Mega Tyranitar supporting his Stoutland, Swallow, and Gallade. He is actually, the only time we got sniped within this NPL draft was on the Stoutland pick. I was going to pick it the round that I ended up getting Azelf, which Azelf, obviously, it's worked out pretty good for us, but I did want Stoutland just because I already had the sand at the points, but it got sniped from us, which, you know, it's whatever, but, you know, it was, and at the time no one understood it, but then 2 rounds later you picked Mega Tyranitar. So we brought a pretty offensive team this week, other than pretty much the Hippowdon, and we were forced into that just because of the... Mainly just because of the Manaphy and the Mega Tyranitar, we were forced into an offensive game plan, as well as the Swallow. The Swallow I don't have a single switch into, if it specs. So there's that. But we have a Stalkrox, Toxic, Earthquake, and Slakoff Hippowdon. No Whirlwind this week because with the Stealth Rocks, with the Toxic, I can catch possibly, I can maybe catch the Donphan, the Mandibuzz, or even the, I guess the Swallow, but pretty much, I expect him to, his first switch into my, Hippowdon to be Amoonguss just because it can get a Spore off. And we do have some answers to Spore on our team, being the Rose Raid and something later on, but next up we have the Rose Raid with the, let me just go over the, EVs quickly. It's mainly to, the extra Spadef is just to help versus, Raikou if it's like specs, this set also allows me to help, allows me to take on things like Stoutland and Mega Tyranitar, which is pretty nice. So next up we have our Scarf Rose Raid with Hidden Power Ground, Sludge Bomb, Gear Drain, and Leaf Storm. EV's enough to outspeed, actually what was that enough to outspeed for? I think it was, I didn't expect his, I expected his Heatran if he brought it to be timid, and I expected him to creep, what did I expect him to creep? I expected him to creep something, but either way, we have this creeping Heatran, with the max special attack modest nature of 56 in HP, pretty straightforward set, Hidden Power Ground for Heatran, Sludge Bomb for things like his flying types, for things like his flying types, like Swallow and Mandibuzz, and then just Leaf Storm to Oko Manaphy if it's not Rindo. Do a lot of damage to things like Mega Tyranitar and Stoutland and Raikou. So that's pretty much it for my Roserade. Pretty nice revenge killer versus his team, actually. And his best switching is probably something like the Heatran, obviously the Heatran, but other than that, the Amoonguss, which takes a lot from Sludge Bomb, easily 3KO'd. So next up we have my Thundurus. First time I think all season I brought fully physical Thundurus with Bulk Up, Fly, Superpower, and Wild Charge. Pretty much this thing, if I can get a Bulk Up, guaranteed I kind of get a kill. I +1 Superpower does a lot to Heatran, +1 Wild Charge, Oko's non-Wakan Manaphy. Z-Fly was a nice neutral move to hit Sylveon, Amoonguss, Donphan, and I guess Mandibuzz too extremely hard, without taking any recoil, obviously, from Wild Charge on the Mandibuzz case. We can hit Raikou okay with Superpower. We can do a lot to Mega Tyranitar with Superpower, and we can Oko Gallade, obviously, with Z-Fly if we really need to, but I'd rather save that for something like the Donphan or the Amoonguss. So that's pretty much it. I definitely contemplated with Sub over Bulk Up just to avoid a Spore from Amoonguss, but I doubt he'd Spore first anyway, just because Sub is something that could be pretty obvious to him. So next up we have this Life Orb 3 attack Scizor with Roost, Superpower, Bullet Punch, and Bug Bite. This is actually one of my win cons this game. It's very, very threatening versus team. If I can eliminate or catch the Heatran with Superpower early on, this thing does a lot of work. Hits the Sylveon very hard, 2 KOs, things like the Amoonguss with Bug Bite, 2 KOs Mandibuzz with Bug Bite after Rocks. Bullet Punch is very nice to revenge something like a weakened Raikou, a weakened Mega Tyranitar, a weakened Stoutland, things like that. Oko Swell after Rocks guaranteed. It might have a small chance without Rocks, but it's not in our favor at all. So yeah, this is a very, very threatening Pokemon versus team. I am speed creeping 16 speed Mandibuzz, by the way. So next up we have a second Stealth Rocker on this team because I felt that with the nature of my offensive team, I could keep off Rocks in this game. His hazard removal is limited to Donphan and Mandibuzz, but if I expect him not to bring Mandibuzz, even though it's something that is immune to like, what's it called, Roserade Sleep Powder, I guess, but it's a liability in a sense to my Primarina and my Thundurus, especially my Primarina, which he doesn't have the best switch-ins to. It gets a free switch in on the Mandibuzz pretty much. Even if he talks me, I don't really care. He's gonna have to go into something and take a huge hit. Okay, so where are we at now? Next up we have oh, actually, I didn't talk about the Azo. So safety goggles to have a pivot into Amoonguss, just because I don't want Roserade to be just taking Sludge Bombs to avoid Spore. So we have Stealth Rock, Psychic, Thunderbolt, and Hidden Power Ground. Pretty solid coverage versus team. I had something over Hidden Power Ground, but then I changed it last minute just because I didn't like my matchup versus Heatran the best. Even though we have things like Primarina to pivot in, we have Hippowdon to Earthquake it, and everything has coverage for it. Like I just wanted something that could I just wanted one more thing that could actually hit it as well, and I didn't really need the last move that I had, which I can't remember what it was. It might have been Taunt, which would have been helpful to stop like a DD Tyranitar, but like I didn't expect that because I have a Hippowdon. So lastly, we have this Primarina with Wise Glasses, Encore, Moonblast, Psychic, and Surf. The main reason that I have Encore was for the Sylveon. If it's Spadef and wants to wish on me, then I can just Encore into that and just pressure his team through there. My stabs hit his entire team except Moonguss, which is why we have Psychic, and Wise Glasses just to boost all my special attacks a tiny bit. The speed, once again, same as Scizor, to creep a 16 speed Mandibuzz. Like, it's not super needed because Mandibuzz can't touch us, but like if I have the opportunity to avoid a toxic, I will. So that's gonna be it for the team builder, guys. I will see you guys in the battle in which we're facing Cheese, of course. And we are back, guys. We have the battle versus Cheese, coach of the Phoenix Sunkerns. You guys can see on the screen he brought a team of Mega Tyranitar, Amoonguss, Manaphy, Heatran, Donphan, and Raikou. So I was looking at the team and I was analyzing lead matchups, and Primarina gave me, honestly, an 100% great lead matchup either way. So if you look at his team, if he leads off with Tyranitar, Manaphy, Heatran, and or Donphan, the latter two possibly giving him rocks, even Tyranitar could have rocks. Those four give Primarina amazing offensive pressure right off the bat. If he leads off with Raikou or Amoonguss, that gives me rocks, because if he leads off with Amoonguss, I go hard on myself, giving me rocks, and if he leads off with his Tyranitar, I go into Hippowdon, giving me rocks, and probably giving him rocks as well. So Primarina just gives me an amazing lead matchup, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lead off with my Primarina, and he leads up with his Donphan, so I'm in an interesting position, turn 1. Obviously he has 30, he can live any hit I go for, so I did some calcs, and even if he stays in, Psychic into Surf would it would guarantee kill most Donphans, unless it was like max HP, max def, Assault Vest. Even then I'm not even sure if it would lift Psychic into a Surf, so either way I'm going to click Psychic, because if I can catch the Amoonguss, I'm going to try. So I Psychic here. Doing 56, and he Earthquakes doing 88, revealing he is Soft Sand, Max Attack, Adamant, Earthquake with his Donphan. Very, very interesting. I guess it probably actually took it was my Hippowdon. So that's definitely something. It definitely was a good bring on his end. It pressures my team pretty immensely, especially if it was my Hippowdon, which obviously in this game we do not see. Spoilers, but he does not actually sack off his Donphan here. So right here, obviously, I doubt he'd go into his Amoonguss. Seeing I already revealed Psychic, he was probably doing some calcs, seeing that he might have been thinking from calcs that I'm a no boosting item, but I ended up being Wise Glasses. So now he's either gonna go. He could either sack this off, or he could try to pivot into something like Manaphy. Or even like Tyranitar or Heatran, predicting like a Moonblast or Psychic. So I'm gonna click Surf, because if Manaphy comes in, that's fine with me. I have ways to work around that. So I'm gonna just click Surf as he goes into his Heatran, and this does 90%. So that's very, very nice. And here's the first misplay that I made this game. I was doing some calcs. I saw the Surf did 90, and from calcs I was like, okay, this Moonblast is for sure going to do 10%. I'm just going to click it. And I didn't really think about it that much, and it only does 9. And he doesn't set up rocks, so you guys might be thinking, like, why is that unfortunate? But, like, if you guys have watched enough competitive battles, you should know that always having sacks is something that is just super important. Like, you guys are going to see that he has this Heatran at 1%, but he's going to save it, as you guys are going to see in a second. He's going to save his Heatran, like, there's not, like, if you can save a sack, then there's no reason not to, because just having something to sack off is just always super useful. So eliminating a sack for me is a bit unfortunate, but it wasn't the biggest deal. It didn't end up being the biggest deal in the game. So I go into my Scizor, trying to scaring him out with a Bullet Punch as he goes into his Amoonguss, and I really wish that I Bug Bited, because that would have guaranteed me a kill. But alas, I did not. So I'm just going to go on my Azelf if he wants a Spore or HP Fire. He actually makes a very solid play going for Sludge Bomb, getting the Poison, which was a bit unfortunate, but it's nothing super major. Now I'm just going to set my rocks as he goes into his Tyranitar. And I think I save this because I can sack it off later to something. Go to my Hippowdon as he's gonna click Crunch. Now obviously he can tank an Earthquake. It's gonna do like 60-ish, 70-ish%. So he could have stayed in here, set up his rocks, and let his Tyranitar get weakened. But I didn't think that was the best play for him. I thought he was gonna capitalize on my Hippowdon being in, go into his Donphan, most likely living an Earthquake and being able to spin. So capitalizing on that, I double out into my Scizor, 100% claiming me a kill as Bug Bite into either another Bug Bite or Bug Bite into Bullet Punch guarantees kills something on his team. So he has to sack off his Donphan, which means rocks are here to stay, and we are now we're technically ahead 5-4 on the playing field, but this is where the game just flips on its head. Like, this is where I basically lose all momentum in the game. So I was looking at my team, not even just the team I brought, like my whole roster, and I was trying to think, how much speed is this Tyranitar gonna have? And I really shouldn't have even considered that. I haven't 100% switching into my Powdon. It's still relatively healthy. Can take any 2 hits. It was always my play, scouting for a Fire Punch, and even just seeing if he outspeeds me. Or I wouldn't get to see that, but I shouldn't have risked this. I ended up superpowering here because I was like, okay, based on my team, I don't think he's gonna have enough speed for my Scizor. But then again, he might have wanted enough speed for like Modest or Timid Primarina. So you guys are gonna see right here, he Fire Punches and I die. And this is absolutely huge because Scizor was my main way of just pressuring his entire team immensely. Like, if I just get my Scizor in on, like, if it's not offensive Raikou or if it's a weakened Amoonguss, I just get a kill every time. I, like, force his Heatran to be sacked off. It's just, that was the biggest misplay of the entire game. If I saved my Scizor, I would have had a much better chance. I would have had a better chance at, in the end game of this. So next up, we're going to just go into our Powdon as the sand goes away. And I could have went into my Thundurus there in hindsight because that would have forced him to either sack his Heatran or go into his Raikou, probably scouting for like Z-fighting attack. So he goes into his Amoonguss on my Powdon as I just Earthquake, and now I am just going to go into myself. If he wants to Spore or Giga Drain. If he Giga Drains, I would die because of the poison. But if he Spores, I get off and attack. But he just Sludge Bombs, and I die. So we are now not on the best spot. Counting the Heatran that's dead, we'll just say that we're down 5-3. So I go into my Thundurus, pressure out the Amoonguss, and I superpower here because I thought his best play was sacking the Heatran, but he lets this Raikou take 43. Feeling that it's max HP. So now I'm just going to go out into my Powdon as he sets up a Reflect, which, this was pretty huge. I did consider staying in to superpowering again, but also in hindsight, that wouldn't have done much for me because with the Reflect, it only would have done 10%-ish. So, yeah. So I go into my, obviously I'm in my Powdon, but I have to start making some plays. I double into my Roserade. And now I get to just fire off a Sludge Bomb, doing 43 to the Amoonguss as he Sludge Bombs me, feeling that it's probably a 3 KO depending on rolls. And now I'm going to Sludge Bomb again, doing 40%, and he is now at 16. I'm now at 37, feeling that it was actually a 4 KO. So now I predict him to go into his Tyranitar as I go into my Powdon. And this Earthquake is only going to do like 30 to 35%, but I'm going to click it anyway. I kind of have to, as he just sets up his Rocks, which was, at this point, probably his best play. He didn't need this healthy for anything else, especially seeing, you guys will see what his Manaphy's item was later. As now he sacks off his Heatran, which he might have not even needed to. He probably could have just went into his Amoonguss hard. But now I'm forced to sack off my, my Powdon because, like, I wasn't forced to, but, like, I needed all 3 of these things to win. Which, actually, this is actually where having that Primarina sack would have been amazing at this point. But I didn't, so I have to sack off my, I thought that my best way of winning was having the combination of Roserade and Thundurus, not the combination of a Powdon something else. And also, I didn't have an Ice Resist, so I thought I was just going to click Ice Beam anyway. But my Roserade is at 24. I'm just going to click, I think I'm just going to click Giga Drain. If I click Sludge Bomb, that would have been pretty big, but I did not. If I click Sludge Bomb, I don't know what the Manaphy is at. It would have been at 50 after Rocks, but no, this Amoonguss would have lived a Sludge Bomb, and then, actually, it would have been a roll. You know, that could have been interesting, but hindsight 2020, so, he just Sludge Bombs. I just keep draining because my only way of winning is possibly hoping his Manaphy is not Wakan, and his Raikou is slower than me, which both are pretty unlikely. So he just Giga Drains. Not sure why. I guess because I was gonna die to sand, and he gets a little more health. But here's another play. Not sure. I could have clicked fly, yes, but on the off chance he wanted to like sack his Raikou and kind of choke away the game if he did that. Actually, in Una, his Manaphy would have lived a wild charge. Okay, he pretty much had no way of losing. I just fired off my Z move, doing 26. Obviously, his move was slow. And now, he's just going to go into his Raikou. He's going to reveal he's faster than me. And he's going to take the safest route to winning, avoiding any crits or anything. He just Volt Switches, sacks his Manaphy to a Superpower into a Wild Charge, or even a Superpower into a Superpower. So, yeah, he's going to kill me with 2 Volt Switches, and that is going to be the game. So, very, very close game versus Cheese. We take a 1-0 loss. This is actually, funnily enough, we are 5-4 now, plus 10 differential. So basically the story of the season is, when we win pretty big, and when we lose by very little. This is our third 1-0 loss of the season, which, like, as a coach, it doesn't sit too well with me, because, like, when you lose, like, by so little, to, like, a 20% Raikou, for example, you just think of all the things that you could have prepped different, done different in the game. So, it's not something that's easy to sit with. But, we're 5-4, plus 10, and we did still have a chance to clinch playoffs this week. So, if you guys do not want any spoilers on playoffs and you want to watch other coaches' videos, stop the video right now. I will leave a timestamp in the description, for when to stop, because I'm going to start talking about playoffs right now. So, if you guys don't want spoilers, leave right now. But, basically, we needed Jolt to lose to Razor, by any margin, and we needed, Shoddy to, lose to Verd, or only win 1-0. And, we actually got both of those things. Jolt lost to Razor, 1-0. Shoddy lost to Verd, 4-0. And your Gotham City Golurks are going to the NPL Majors playoffs. I was so hyped when this happened, especially when, obviously Razor's an amazing battler, but, like, he was an underdog versus Jolt. He sent me his team. I didn't really help him that much just because I didn't have the time, but I'm very happy that he won, obviously, because it takes so much pressure off me. I thought I was going to have a week 10 showdown with Jolt, but we end up not having that, and we are in the playoffs, and we are pretty much looking, we're probably going to face either Verd, amazing battler, obviously, and GFC, another amazing battler. They play week 10, and they have the 2 highest differentials in the league. They play week 10, probably going to be a meme-ish match, but the winner of that is basically going to get the 1 seed, even if it is a meme match. So they might not even do a meme match, depending on if they don't want to play me or not, because the loser, or the winner, is most likely going to play me. So, take that as you will. But we are in the playoffs, guys. That's very, very hype. If you guys are hyped that the Gotham City Golurks are in the playoffs, definitely hit that like button down below. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.